What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast and apologies for the very late video. Something came up earlier so I had to delay this one, but hopefully it was worth the wait because in today's video I'm going to be showcasing by far the most insane team I've run all season with some of the craziest wins I've managed in a long time too. Running a triple buffed XL team with Hippopotas having buffed Body Slam, Salandit running Ember, and Varoom running Gyro Ball. Now I already know what you're thinking, this team is going to get absolutely destroyed by ground types with the back two Pokemon being double weak and the lead Pokemon also not even resisting the ground typing, but the Jungle Cup is quite an interesting meta in that out of the top 10 ranked ground types, none of them have any ground type fast attacks, so my backline surprisingly has a lot more play than you might expect. Of course, there are still Mud Slappers out there, and unfortunately there's just not a lot I can do to win those games with this team, but they are of course a lot less common than in the Open Great League. Now something you might have also noticed about the backline is that they've both got very unique typings that double resist Fairy, making these two of the hardest walls to Wigglytuff, a Pokemon that we famously hate on this channel. Of course, Charm did get reworked this season, so it's not quite as oppressive as it has been previously, but I still very much enjoy completely shutting down that Pokemon. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your most hated GBL Pokemon of all time, and what is your favorite Pokemon you like to run to completely wall it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Hippopotas into a Talonflame. So of course, we do have Rock Tomb for coverage. It's quite likely that they will end up shielding the first charge move anyways. And here, I'm actually going to make a mistake. I throw it on alignment. That is very risky for me because if the opponent doesn't throw it immediately, I give away a full Incinerate in for free. I kind of just timed that poorly. That was not my intention. But anyways, we're going to fire off the Rock Tomb. This time around, I do recognize this will be a CMP tie. But again, I am going to throw straight away. And they do just go for another fly there. So of course, Rock Tomb number 2 coming through. It's going to grab the final shield. I swap into my Salandit, but unfortunately met with a Clodsire. Now, this is what I'm talking about. A ground-type Pokemon, but they've got Poison Sting as the fast move, meaning we actually resist the fast move damage. And you see Flamethrower does respectable damage. Their Embers, they're not really adding up too much, but they do charge energy incredibly fast. So what we're going to do, we're going to fire off another Flamethrower on the CMP tie. Flamethrower just narrowly doesn't quite get the KO there. So the opponent will be firing off the Earthquake. Oh, sorry, never mind. That is a Stone Edge. Stone Edge gets the one shot. They come back in with a Talonflame, but they've only revealed Fly. So I expect this is going to be a full send of the Brave Bird. I'm able to catch it, and now I'm going to look to overfarm. This game is still not over yet. I fire off Gyro Ball. It's resisted, but they're triple debuffed, and let's see what their final Pokemon is. Varoom, do we still have play here? They're going to have a Shadow Piloswine. I wait one turn. I make sure they don't make a catch there. Gyro Ball is enough damage to get the one shot, and I'm triple resisting Poison Sting. I get the Metal Sound farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle, and the target here is in the lead, but unfortunately we have our two Pokemon that double resist the Fairy typing in the back. So I'm actually going to chip with a Rock Slide. Honestly, I was expecting to grab a shield, because Wigglytuff users love to shield the first move there, and then go for an Icy Wind, but they actually did not shield. Now here, I tried to throw a Flamethrower on CMP. Doesn't work out for me as we were slightly desynced there, so now I'm going to fire off the Flamethrower. We've got a lot of energy, and we've seen already, Flamethrower does respectable damage into these bulky ground type Pokemon. So here, gonna fire off a second Flamethrower number 2, gonna grab a shield, and at this point I will be no shielding my Salandit, but the opponent baits with a Fire Punch. They actually panic swap back into Wigglytuff, and even worse for them, they end up throwing on CMP, so Poison Fang grabs a shield. I debuff their defense, and now of course I can let Salandit go down. We've got an even harder wall in the form of Varoom. They can fire off a charge move, don't really care what they throw. Everything they could possibly throw is going to be resisted. They fire off the Icy Wind, doesn't really bother me whatsoever. They're going to come back in with the Diggersby. However, of course, I am debuffed, so I clear the debuff there, and the opponent's going to have a second ground type Pokemon, but that's not a problem for Varoom. So we fire off the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb going to debuff their attack. It is very unlikely that they've got high horsepower or Bulldoze. It's very likely Icicle Spear and Stone Edge, but I'm actually not going to take the risk and go for a full farm down. Instead, I can just fire off the Gyro Ball. We're at back-to-back charge moves here, and we're going to continue to overfarm just a little bit. Fire off Gyro Ball number 2. Gyro Ball gets the KO up against the Diggersby, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Diggersby in the lead this time around. So, of course, this is definitely where we want to see it. Unfortunately, Hippopotas doesn't have the best matchup here because I can only go for Body Slam's Rock Tomb. Whilst, yes, it is going to debuff their attack, it is resisted damage, and it is also non-stab. Likewise, Body Slam also non-stab, so not really the best matchup for me. But, of course, we are at least going to chip in this matchup. Hopefully, force the opponent to fire off another Scorching Sands here. We are getting very close to range where a Fire Punch will get the KO, but either way, we fire off another Body Slam. The opponent will be firing off the charge move, and it is a Scorching Sands. So we come in with Salandit. I should be able to shield once, and hopefully they won't reach another Scorching Sands. I'm going to shield this. They don't bait. They go for Scorching Sands. Salandit, actually not able to get the farm down, but this should just be a Fire Punch. The Fire Punch is resisted. We get the farm down there, and let's see. They're going to come in with a Piloswine. I'm not baiting. I'm full sending Flamethrower, and Flamethrower is unfortunately shielded by the opponent. I'm going to grab the final shield or get the KO here with a second Flamethrower. We do grab that final shield. I swap into Varoom, and the opponent is going to try and make a catch there onto Fortress. So honestly, if I'd have just baited a single time with my Salandit, honestly, we'd be in a really good position. I could have stayed in up against the Piloswine and probably just completely swept the game. However, we're in an awkward situation where Piloswine has banked so much energy. I'm going to let the move go through here. Sand Tomb doesn't get the KO there. I'm going to swap out as soon as possible. I need a Flamethrower banked, but they just barely get to the charge move. I already know the play here. They're going to make that combo play, come back in with the Piloswine. I was one ember away from the charge move, and unfortunately, they've got back-to-back charge moves here. So, of course, Icicle Spear will be taken out for Room, and unfortunately, I do lose that game, but I feel like that is a very much winnable game there if I had predicted that they had, of course, a Fortress in the back. But anyways, GG's to that trainer into the next battle. We are going to see another ground-type Pokemon, but it is in the lead. So, once again, where we want to see it, however, this is quite awkward for me because they are also a water-type Pokemon, so not that great for Hippopotas, but I can tank an Aqua Tail, and I'm not going to throw straight away. I don't know who wins CMP. Honestly, I don't use Hippopotas very often, but either way, I'm going to go for one Sand attack, fire off the Body Slam. I recognize I can outpace them to the third charge move here, so Body Slam should be grabbing a shield from the Quagsire. Body Slam is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. I swap into Varoom. Quite unlikely that they got Mud Bomb here, so I'm just going to soak up the damage. They fire off an Aqua Tail. The opponent committing to the farm down. It's actually a simultaneous KO, and Salandit still has play here. But of course, we need to see what they've got in the back. They come straight in with a Piloswine, and their final Pokemon is a Pangoro, so this is still winnable for me. We fire off the Poison Fang. Poison Fang drops their defense there. Of course, Embers, they don't do that much damage, so I've not really put them into range where I can farm them down, but they're on Rock Side, meaning they're going to full send another Rock Side. I'm able to catch it onto the Hippopotas, and of course, now they are in range where I can just go for a full Ember farm down, coming out with 100 energy. I'm full sending Flamethrower, and Flamethrower very nearly gets the one shot. One more Ember, gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, and once again, we did beat a double ground team there with our backline, which, of course, is very weak to ground types. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Sizzle in the lead. Now, I saw a ton of Shadow Sizzle. Unfortunately, basically every single one was in the lead, so I wasn't able to align my Salandit properly. Here you can see we snipe with a few Embers before they will, of course, swap out, but they do allow me at least to reach a Poison Fang. However, of course, we are seeing the insane damage from those Mud Slaps. We do reach the Poison Fang. I dropped the defense there, but my Hippopotas is actually fairly low. And of course, even though I've dropped the defense, these Sand attacks, they're not going to add up that much. So I am going to shield a Body Slam. I'm going to have to shield everything here from this Gastrodon. Hopefully, they do just overfarm in this matchup, but we're going to go for a Body Slam of our own. It does decent damage, and the opponent does allow a second Body Slam. So Body Slam gets the KO there. I'm going to swap out straight away into my Varoom, and potentially, if I can fully farm them down here, maybe we've got play into whatever's in the back. They go for a Trailblaze, which is double resisted, but unfortunately they are just dealing a lot of damage with the bullet punches. I'm going to shield the Night Sash. They swap into their final Pokemon, an Altaria, and I'm going straight for Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball gonna be no shielded. It doesn't do that much damage, so potentially if I'm able to land a Gonk Shot here, they might no shield this, expecting to tank it, but unfortunately they end up shielding, and of course they've got a ton of energy now. Whatever they throw, Sky Attack gets the KO there. They can Dragon Breath, farm down Varoom, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into the next battle. I can see Golisopod in the lead. So this is a bit of an awkward matchup for me. I am going to shield the first charge as I can fire off a Rock Tomb. And of course, Rock Tomb both super effective and it will debuff their attack. So going straight for the Rock Tomb here. Rock Tomb gotta be no shielded. It does big damage. They swap out into Umbreon. And I'm actually just going to stay in this matchup, at least initially, and fire off another Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb gonna be no shielded. It drops their attack once again. Umbreon already not known for having a very high attack stat. They go for Dark Pulse. That doesn't do much damage at all. I can fire off a second Rock Tomb, and then I will actually swap out of this matchup. Rock Tomb gets them fairly low. Even if they've got Psychic for coverage, it's not going to do too much damage into Salandit, so I will no shield this. Dark Pulse is going to do just under, maybe about 40% of my HP, so I'm going to no shield once again. Even if they try to snipe with Golisopod, we've got the energy. I can go for Poison Fang. Poison Fang gets the KO there. They come back in with the Umbreon, but Salandit is not done just yet. Poison Fang, number 2, gets the KO, and we're down a shield, but it doesn't matter. We see a Wigglytuff in the back, and look at that charm damage. It is basically non-existent. We can actually no shield this. They fire off the Icy Wind, really don't care. This is where, of course, having Acid Spray would be quite nice for me because they've debuffed my attack. Obviously, they're going to double shield here, and it will just be slightly faster for me to get the full farm down, but either way, we're still in a great position. I fire off another Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball grabs the final shield, and I am getting fairly low. I should still be able to tank this, but either way, I will use my final shield. They fire off the Swift. We can go for another Gyro Ball, and of course, even debuffed, Gyro Ball takes out the Wigglytuff, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Shadow Scizor once again in the lead. So, last time we did try and snipe with a few embers worth of damage on our Salandit. This time, they're actually not going to go up to the Trailblaze. Either way, I'm going to no-shield this. I'm going to go for the Rock Tomb there. I thought I was one away, so I do end up throwing on alignment. That is just poor on my end. But Rock Tomb grabs a shield. Now we're swapping into Varoom, and the opponent will fire off another charge. But I'm hoping I can then align my Salandit. They're going to come in with a Runarigus, and I'm going straight for Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball is going to do respectable damage in this matchup, but the opponent might be able to commit to a full farm down, and unfortunately they just barely get that farm down. If they throw a charge leaf, I might have actually shielded that because I would have reached another Gyro Ball, but now unfortunately they are so far ahead on energy. They've likely got Rock Tomb for coverage. Rock Tomb is going to debuff my attack there. I'm not going to throw now because actually Poison Fang is firstly double resisted and also now double debuffed. You're going to see this is not even going to get the KO here, but this should allow me to make a catch onto my Hippopotas. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered throwing a tool there. Maybe I should have just swapped out before throwing any charge moves there and then committed to a farm down. But they've got Galarian Moltres in the back. I go straight for Poison Fang. Poison Fang does grab the final shield, and I am able to reach a Flamethrower. They are now debuffed. Flamethrower is going to do big damage there, but they can just Sucker Punch, farm me down, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into the next battle, and another Shadow Scizor in the lead. So, of course, we're going to stay in here. We're going to fire off that Rock Tomb. If they do commit to a Trailblaze, I can outpace them. But again, they go straight for a Night Sash, maybe recognizing that I wouldn't shield that first charge. But they then swap. They catch a Rock Tomb onto Altaria, and that is fine with me. This might allow me to get the alignment that I have been wanting in this matchup so far. So I'm going to shield here as they do go for a Flamethrower. We probably could have tanked that because I have debuffed them, but I might as well shield anyways. I'm firing off the Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball is going to be no-shielded. It gets the KO there. And if they come back in with the Scizor, honestly, they're probably going to shield another charge move. They come back in with the Scizor, and I'm going straight for Gyro Ball. So Gyro Ball is going to grab a shield back from the Scizor. They're going to overfarm, not by much there. Fire off the charge move. Night Slash gets the KO. We come in, and their final Pokemon is going to be a shiny Pangoro. So very nice flex on the opponent's end. I'm going to shield here. They go for a Night Sash, and now I'm firing off a Poison Fang. Now, I believe Yonkus made a video just before I started battling here with Pangoro on Rock side, so I did try and wait for the opponent to farm up to the Rock side, but they recognize the land. It has basically no HP and defense whatsoever, so they just settle for the Night Sash. That doesn't get the KO. We swap back into Hippopotas, and we're just barely able to reach a Body Slam. Body Slam gets the KO there, but they farm me down, and unfortunately they do come out with a Night Slash loaded. Very close there, but Night Slash will be taken out to land it, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow Fortress in the lead. So once again, not where we want to see it, but they're actually on Volt Switch. So actually, never mind. This probably is where I want to see it, as we are double resisting the fast move damage. Also, it is non-stab, so it doesn't really hit that hard either. The opponent is going to fire off an Earthquake. They are full sending the nuke there, but that's fine with me. I can fire off another Rock Tomb here, and Rock Tomb will get them very low. Rock Tomb going to be shielded. The opponent is going to farm up to a Rock Tomb of their own, and then swap out, bank the energy there. Coming in with a Galissapod, so I'm going to go for a Rock Tomb, debuff their attack. Unfortunately, I will still have to double shield here as Salandit, even though the debuff is not going to tank an Aqua Jet. So I'm going to go for a Poison Fang. I'm going to see how much damage this does here. Poison Fang probably will two-shot them now, as I have, of course, debuffed their defense. So I'm going to shield this. I don't think I'm going to overfarm at all. Just going to go straight for Poison Fang number 2. Poison Fang is going to be, of course, getting the KO there. And their final Pokemon is once again going to be a Clodsire. So once again, we are resisting the fast move damage. I'm firing off the Flamethrower. Flamethrower does respectable damage there. And the opponent, I realize, of course, they've got a Rock Tomb loaded. So I'm actually going to swap, just sacrifice my Varoom here. The opponent full sends the Earthquake. I was hoping to catch a Stone Edge there, but of course that doesn't work out. And now we're in a tricky situation, but I'm able to reach a Flamethrower. The opponent doesn't throw just yet. Flamethrower gets the KO there. The opponent goes for the extra Volt Switch. I'm actually able to Ember, farm it down, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's up on there. Of course, if they did fire off a Rock Tomb, I could have just come back in with my Hippopotas and outpaced them to the next charge move, so it would have been fine either way. But either way, into the next battle, we are going to see a Corviknight in the lead. And honestly, this is the most frustrating Corviknight I have ever faced. They get the boost on the first attempt. I'm going to debuff them right back down to the regular attack stat. They're going to fire off another Air Cutter, and of course, Air Cutter is going to get another boost. So of course, I'm going to debuff them once again here. It's just a game of buffing and then debuffing themselves. We go for the Rock Tomb, we debuff their attack, and they will fire off another charge move. Air Cutter, number 3, gets the KO there, and what a surprise, they get another attack boost. They do reach another Air Cutter. Of course, Air Cutter is now boosted by 1 stage, and Air Cutter gets yet another boost. That is 4 boosts in a row. I don't know what the odds are for that. Someone can comment down below what the odds are for 4 Air Cutter boosts in a row. Here, I'm hoping we still got some play, but nope, never mind. They've got a Gastrodon in the back. There's nothing Varoom can do. And so I do, unfortunately, just have to concede the match there. But GG's to opponent there. Of course, those Air Cutter boosts didn't really make any difference at all since they had a Gastrodon in the back. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Charizard, and they full send the Blast Burn there. I'm going for the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb is going to be shielded by the opponent, and the opponent is going to bank energy. They come in with a shiny Shadow Cradily, and Varoom can completely wall this Pokemon. Unless they're running Bulldoze, which is incredibly unlikely. Honestly, like it would be just my luck to go up against the one Cradily running Bulldoze with this team. But either way, we fire off the Gyro Ball, we get the KO there, and let's see what they want to do. They're actually going to come in with a Shadow Victory Bell. I do not understand this play whatsoever. They've got a Charizard that is loaded on energy, but they came in with this Pokemon, another Pokemon that we completely will. Leaf Blade is double resisted. I now swap into Salandit. I'm forcing them to go for these Air Cutters. Air Cutter number 1 does respectable damage, and at this point, I think we just no-shield this. Yeah, we're going to no-shield Air Cutter number 2. Unfortunately for the Charizard, no Air Cutter boost here, but we're going to go for a Body Slam. Body Slam number 1 is going to grab the final shield. We go for 1 Sand Attack, fire off Body Slam number 2. Body Slam gets the KO from that range. We can just Sand Attack, farm them down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. I am just realizing that was a triple shiny Shadow theme team there. So, very cool theme team. But into the next battle, we see another Shadow Scizor in the lead. So, once again, very awkward for me. I do want my Salandit to take out a Shadow Scizor. But we're going to go for the Rock Tomb. I'm going to swap out. I'm hoping I've caught a Trailblaze there onto my Varoom. That would be very nice. But no, they do just fire off a Night Slash. The opponent is going to stay in this matchup and fire off a second Night Slash. And since they are debuffed, I can sponge this damage, and I will just barely reach a Gyro Ball. Now, the opponent is going to catch it onto Altaria, but that's fine with me. Of course, it would have been resisted up against Shadow Scizor anyways, so not the worst thing ever. We can come in with the Hippopotas, and of course, I will be shielding here as I can fire off a Rock Tomb. The opponent fires off the Sky Attack. I'm going straight for Rock Tomb here. If they no-shield this might even get the KO. Rock Tomb barely doesn't KO, and the opponent swaps. Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I just assumed that was going to be the Scizor coming back in, so I was ready to punish them with my Salandit. Salandit has been so eager to farm down a Scizor. but they swapped into Credilli. If I just stayed in there, honestly, there's a good chance I'll win this game. I go straight for Rock Tomb, I outpace Credilli, and of course, they can't farm me down with Acid either, and then Salandit probably just sweeps the end game, but unfortunately, I swapped out, they reach another Rock Tomb, and that's going to be game over. They come back in with Shadow Sizzle. They could have committed to a farm down, but they're playing it safe, of course. Night Slash takes out Hippopotas, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into the final battle of this video. We lead into another Talonflame. So, of course, the first few Talonflame have shielded the Rock Tomb, so I did consider actually baiting here, but I am just going to full send the Rock Tomb once again. And Rock Tomb, this time, does not get respected. It gets the one shot. And now I swap out here. This is kind of a strange play, but I did actually see a lot of Talonflame with a Mud Slapper in the back, so if they do have a Mud Slapper, I need to bait it out. So I swap into Salandit. They're not swapping out here, so they go for a Body Slam. I'm able to reach a single Poison Fang, unfortunately just barely fainting as we reach the next one, but that's okay. I'm going to come in with the Varoom here, and the opponent's actually going to swap out of that matchup into an even worse matchup as they come in with a Credilli. We can go straight for Gyro Ball. Gyro Ball is going to grab the first shield from the opponent, and I do not need to shield anything. Now, this is a non-shadow, so actually I can tank 2 Rock Tombs very comfortably on Varoom, and of course Acid non-stab, and it's triple resisted by the Steel and Poison typing, so I will just no-shield once again. They go for another Rock Tomb there. I'm now going to overfarm. The opponent swaps. They make a catch onto his wireless, but I just don't care. Gyro Ball does decent damage. We can come in with Hippopotas, and I'm actually going to go for a 2-shield flex here as the opponent fires off the Body Slam. Doesn't do much damage there. We can tank the next one. We can go for a full Sand Attack farm down. We are very close to a Rock Tomb of our own, so Credilli about to get a taste of its own medicine. Rock Tomb coming through, doesn't get the KO there, but one more Sand Attack, gets the farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.